Hello friends, let's talk about something that sounds like it's harsh at first, but it really is not. Not everyone should continue making music in the same way that they started. And I do not mean this as an insult. I mean it as an observation about why people begin in the first place. Throughout history, music was not something people did because it might work out. They did it because they couldn't do otherwise. They couldn't not do it. That difference matters today more than it ever did. We've talked about how the industry model collapsed, how streaming flattened value, and how marketing pressures simplified composition. So the question now becomes very, very simple. If music is no longer a reliable ladder, if it's no longer a scalable business for most people, if it's no longer a guaranteed path to visibility, then who keeps going and why? First, let me talk about the wrong reasons a little bit. Some people started making music because they imagined a future version of themselves on stage, being recognized, being validated, and being financially stable from this. And there's nothing shameful about that. Ambition has always been a huge part of art and drive within artists. But when the external validation, when the external reward shrinks dramatically, then motivation, built primarily on outcome, starts to wobble. If the main fuel was applause, numbers, sales, industry validation, or the idea of generally making it, then this era will probably feel very, very brutal to some people. And continuing under those conditions often turns into resentment. Resentment toward platforms, resentment toward audiences, toward younger musicians, toward technology. And that is not a healthy place to be, and it's not a healthy place to create from. The people who tend to survive, and I use that word, that term deliberately, are those for whom music is practice rather than projection. They practice because it feels like it clarifies their thinking. They write because something bothers them, something fascinates them, or moves them. They play because it feels wrong not to play. These people may complain about the industry. They may roll their eyes at whatever trend came out recently, but they do not, under any circumstances, stop. They don't actually stop, because their relationship with music is not transactional, it's structural. Now let's talk about the trap of easy tools a little bit. This is another category that is worth mentioning. Talented musicians who feel discouraged and they decide to shortcut the path. If tools promise speed, visibility, instant polish, then I understand that it sounds tempting, especially when day jobs are exhausting and when time is limited. But historically, musicianship develops through friction. Struggle builds nuance. Limitations force decisions. If someone abandons the slow process entirely in favor of a rapid output, they may gain visibility for a very, very short moment, but they will never gain depth. And depth is the only thing that lasts longer than a trend cycle. And there's another hard truth, another thing that we don't say often enough. Not everyone who makes music has something meaningful to say. That is not cruelty, it's reality. Expression alone does not guarantee substance. Experience from life, reflection, and attention to life shapes substance. If someone hasn't lived much, observed much, struggled with anything real, chances are that their music will reflect that. And that is not an insult, it's an invitation to grow as a person first and as a musician afterwards. Now, stepping back is not a failure. Sometimes the healthiest move is to step back a little bit. Work, live, travel, struggle, read, fall in love, fail. Then return again. Music deepens when life deepens. And some of the greatest and most powerful artists throughout history disappeared for years before coming back stronger than before. There is no rule that says that you must constantly produce. That rule was invented very, very recently. Of course, producing all the time might mean that you get better at it, but it's not a rule of thumb, and it doesn't work the same for every person. Now, who should absolutely continue? If you're someone who practices even when nobody hears you. If you find yourself listening closely to harmony for pleasure. If you improve slowly and notice it quietly. If you care about sound more than you care about attention, then you should continue. Because this era filters out those who are here for visibility and leaves room for those who are here for craft. And craft survives every technological shift. This is something that I see very, very clearly in teaching. The students who thrive long-term are not the ones that are chasing fast results. They are the ones that are curious about sound itself. They want to understand harmony, they want to understand timing, they want to understand articulation, phrasing, composing, and that curiosity sustains them. If you're wired that way, this moment in history is actually freeing. Because you no longer have to pretend that you're building a brand. You can just build musicianship. So who should keep making music? The ones who feel incomplete without it. Who should reconsider? Those who are only staying because of an outdated promise. So look yourself in the mirror and decide what person you want to be. In the final video of this little series, we're going to talk about what success even means now once the old illusions are stripped away. And it turns out to be far more quiet and far more achievable than most people think. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts with me in the comment section. And if you're still here in this series, chances are you already know which category you fall into. Cheers.